he sustained last week. A shake of the hand between the much more experienced Mark Schwarzer of Middlesbrough and young Steve Harper, signed on a free transfer from Seaham Red Star 6 seasons ago, and he's had to wait those 6 intervening years before getting his chance. And Duncan Ferguson appearing today for the 2nd time in the famous black and white stripes of Newcastle. But we'll look first at the Middlesbrough team news. The Middlesbrough side is that which started last weekend's draw at Arsenal. They're going to play with 3 central defenders, Cooper, Vickers and Gary Pallister. Brian Deane has been passed fit to partner Hamilton Rickard up front, and that midfield triumvirate provides a decent platform of the unsung Mustoe, the veteran Townsend, and of course a rejuvenated Gascoigne.
A glorious Gascoigne goal. He's back.
This Newcastle lineup notably lacks Alan Shearer with that hamstring injury, so the Swede Andreas Andersson continues alongside Duncan Ferguson. Robert Lee returns as captain in midfield, and despite the renewed availability of Pearce and Dabizas, the back 4 is that which helped secure victory over Wimbledon last week. Aaron Hughes, by way of introduction, is a 19-year-old Northern Ireland international. Steve Howie, a former England international, is just back from an Achilles injury, and in goal, confirmation that Steve Harper starts a Premier League game for the first time, because Shay Given, the Irishman, has failed to recover from his shoulder trouble. So the scene is set by the side of the River Tees for the 93rd Tyne Tees derby in the history of English League football. Middlesbrough 7th in the Premier League table, 6 places and 4 points ahead of their near rivals. These 2 towns separated by 35 miles, and separated in terms of achievement down the years by a great deal, because Middlesbrough's best ever finish in league football was 3rd way back in 1914, whereas Newcastle have won the FA Cup on umpteen occasions and the league 4 times, but not since 1927. They have, though, been runners-up in 2 of the past 3 seasons, but then they slumped last year to finish only 13th, and in the end were just 4 points above the relegation area. But Middlesbrough have been in prime form of late. Some very impressive results. The unbeaten run stretches now to 8 games, but they have been held back by the number of matches they've drawn. 8 of their 15 Premier League fixtures so far have finished all square. But this is something of a fortress. It's a difficult place for teams to visit, and in fact no team has beaten Middlesbrough in a league fixture on this ground for 14 months. The last team to come here and win, Sheffield United, in a First Division fixture on October the 5th last year. History is against Middlesbrough, though, in terms of their record in recent years against Newcastle. It's the 5th time they've met under the auspices of the FA Premier League, and the 4 previous meetings have all been won by the men in black and white. 1-0 here 2 seasons ago, 2-1 the season before. Les Ferdinand, the scorer of the winning goal on both occasions, and as if to emphasise that Middlesbrough can't even score against Newcastle on this ground, the 1 goal that they have scored was an own goal scored by John Beresford. And there's the former Newcastle man, Paul Gascoigne, today playing against Newcastle for only the 2nd time in his career. The last occasion, more than 10 years ago, also happened to be his debut for Tottenham Hotspur. Now 31 years of age, his 23rd appearance for Middlesbrough, and only Duncan Ferguson's 2nd for Newcastle. After 4 years with Everton and previous spells with Dundee United and Rangers, he has been brought to lead the line along with Alan Shearer, and has yet to play alongside Alan Shearer. Uriah Rennie not happy with the match ball that's been selected, so that's going to be the first substitution of the afternoon. There are umpteen available. And now we are ready to kick off. Middlesbrough in red, playing from left to right. and looking to extend this good recent run that has taken them up to 7th in the table, and if they win this game they'll be up to 4th. And noticeable immediately that Hamilton Ricard, who has the ball, is wearing gloves, and there was a chance there for Brian Deane sliding in after barely 20 seconds. It's out as far as Dean Gordon. There was a little bit of pushing going on, and the ball has been headed away by Solano. A really positive opening by Middlesbrough, and Deane slid in at the ball but couldn't make meaningful contact. Gascoigne. Mustoe couldn't control. Barton, who's playing at left back, was swiftly in with the tackle. And Curtis Fleming will take the throw for Middlesbrough. Short to Townsend. Speed in to try and close down, and Barton will try and let that run. And in fact, Mustoe tackled him after the ball had gone over the dead ball line. But the two players have made up between themselves. No intervention necessary from match referee Uriah Rennie, but Brian Deane with that very early chance to put Middlesbrough in front. After good work by Hamilton Ricard, gloves and all, it is a chilly day by the side of the River Tees. Lovely footwork and an inch-perfect pass, frankly, which he would have been disappointed to see go astray in front of goal. Keith Gillespie, who was a target for Middlesbrough towards the end of last season. His move fell down over personal terms, but a fee of £3.5 million had been agreed. At the time he felt he had no future with Newcastle, but new management, new horizons. And on his day, one of the best deliverers of the ball from a wide position anywhere in the Premier League. And now he has someone to deliver to in Duncan Ferguson. Solano is across to take this as well. Shot was blocked from Warren Barton. Another of those to benefit from the arrival of Ruud Gullit. Mustoe, Fleming. Steve Howie making the challenge. And Duncan Ferguson providing an extra headache for Middlesbrough's back line. Barton's throw. Back from Speed. That's for Solano. Just gone over the line. The first Peruvian ever to play in English football, Alberto Solano, signed from the Argentine club Boca Juniors. Speed. Gillespie finding Charvet. Gillespie for a second time. It's a slightly treacherous surface, as you can see. Anderson. Duncan Ferguson. Well, there's the threat, which is plain for all to see. He's already played here twice this season in the blue of Everton and has scored once in Everton's League Cup victory at the Riverside 6 weeks ago. And Gary Pallister playing only his 7th game of the season after suffering from knee trouble, one of those charged with marking Ferguson. Foot was high, and Newcastle have a free kick. But 3 Middlesbrough central defenders looking after Ferguson and Andreas Anderson. Cooper, Vickers in the middle, and Pallister on the far side, and he is their prime concern. Taken by Aaron Hughes. Ferguson. Gordon. Ferguson got to it. Vickers guided it back. Mustoe. Ricard. Fleming. Well, it was cut out by Barton, but it was good and incisive and quick. Gary Speed has retained his place in the Newcastle team. And up against him today, Andy Townsend, who is enjoying an Indian summer to his career. Ferguson. Flicked off the head of the defender Cooper for a Newcastle throw-in. Speed. Barton. Ferguson. Now Laurent Charvet. Speed, good ball to Anderson. Ferguson's available. Now can he turn? Well, he could, but the shot was blocked. And Townsend has kept it in on the far side. Newcastle appealed for a corner, but a goal kick has been given. But Vickers was the Middlesbrough player who got in the way when Duncan Ferguson, on this slippery surface, turned extraordinarily quickly for such a tall man and whipped in a shot. Whereas number 4 thwarted him. Anderson. Did appeal for a free kick for the challenge from behind, but the ball was taken cleanly. Here's Townsend for Middlesbrough. Rickard trying to stay onside. Dean has pulled wide to the far flank. Musto. Curtis Fleming. Rickard's presence was enough to cause discomfort to the Newcastle defender. Hence Middlesbrough's throw. Colin Cooper. Pallister forced backwards. Trying to second-guess Ruud Gullit's selection is never easy. Not helped by the fact that he's used more players in the Premier League than any other manager so far this season. 29 of them in total. Middlesbrough much more settled. And this is Townsend. Gordon. Oh, Dean was lurking. It was a necessary header behind from Steve Howie. Dean Gordon, who's settled in well since his summer move from Crystal Palace. And he had 3 at whom to aim the cross. Steve Howie, who was picked last week after 3 weeks at Lilleshall, the National Sports Injuries Rehabilitation Centre. Pallister's forward for this. And the aerial threat is considerable now that Brian Dean has joined Middlesbrough's ranks. Because he's a threat in the air, so too is Rickard, and Pallister was up as well. It was Dean's later arrival that caused the real problem. So much movement from Middlesbrough inside the box as well. Proven goal scorer. 172 of them down the years in English football for Brian Dean. And that punt forward has got possibilities. He's dealt with well by Howie in the end. Anderson's off in pursuit. Cooper is the Middlesbrough defender. Ferguson. Solano. Ferguson stretched, almost played it into Anderson's path. Even Dean Gordon's wearing gloves today. Robert Lee. Barton. He will play anywhere just to get a game. He's not normally a left-sided player. Ferguson. He was unhappy with the wrestling that was going on as Middlesbrough tried to dispossess Duncan Ferguson. He waited for the advantage to accrue, it didn't, and so he's blown for the free kick for the initial offence. Solano. Ferguson, Pallister's header. And Ferguson a second time. Not only as far as Solano. Barton. Alistair's header, black distance. Gillespie. Faced by Gordon. Solano, Ferguson. And eventually the order of the boot was applied by Dean Gordon. There's an obvious vibrancy and confidence to this Middlesbrough team, born of recent results. They're playing the ball around with abandon. Fleming. Cooper. Townsend calling for it and getting it in space with his left, and it was a miscue because that is his favoured foot. He's only scored twice in 61 games in Middlesbrough's colours. The goals do seem to be drying up as he approaches the veteran stage of his career. He's never been exactly prolific, but it's not too often that he gets as much space and time as that in which to measure his shot on goal. Gascoigne. Dean. Gordon. Brian Dean. Gordon wondering where to throw it. Rickard made himself available. Action took it beyond the post, off Hughes. Rickard is proving himself to be something of a handful for Newcastle to deal with. With him, expect the unexpected. Corner taken by Gascoigne to Townsend! His first goal of the season from a pre-planned corner routine. He was just lurking on the edge of the penalty area. The thumbs up to Paul Gascoigne for the perfect delivery from the flank. Completely unmarked and just steered into the top corner. And work on the training ground has paid off handsomely. No way that Steve Harper, diving to his right, could get there. And inside the first quarter of an hour, Middlesbrough in front in the Tyne Tees derby through their captain Andy Townsend. It was a moment that the coaches will relish. Something worked on at their brand new training complex at Herworth-on-Tees, just up the road, where they have state-of-the-art facilities. And it was a corner directly from a coach's mind. Gordon McQueen and Viv Anderson and company, together with Brian Robson, can take great credit for that. And here come Middlesbrough again with Dean, without a play by Aaron Hughes. Huge cheer around the stadium for the announcement of the scorer's name. Rickard. For once it wasn't him that scored. So deep cross, Dean. No question about which of these two northeast teams looks the more threatening at this juncture. Townsend the scorer, this time with the cross. And Brian Dean getting good leverage on the header, but lacking direction. kick given to Newcastle. Infringement by Cooper, who, like Pallister, is in his second spell with Middlesbrough. In fact, for Pallister, this is the first Tyne Tees derby in some 10 years. Last time he played in this fixture, he scored an own goal at St James's Park. And now he's looking after Ferguson. Gillespie popping up on the left. Solano. Here's Gary Speed. Gillespie. Well, he seems certain that it took a deflection and is asking for a corner. Uriah Rennie is of a differing opinion and has given a goal kick. I must say the initial thought was that it did take a nick on its way through. But a goal kick it is. Gillespie doesn't seem able to come to terms with it. Warren Barton. Ferguson. So much of the pre-match attention was centred on Ferguson, but it's Middlesbrough who've made all the running. Charvet. Gillespie. Middlesbrough working very hard to deny space to Newcastle. There were 3 players around the ball carrier. One of them was Townsend, leading by example, and this was his goal. First bounce and very calmly steered into the top corner. And look at Gascoigne's reaction. One out of his box of tricks, and enough for Brian Robson to interrupt his phone call. Barton. Speed. All the way to Charvet. Lee. Ferguson. Vickers was in at his back and legally. And now here's Dean on the charge, played back by Warren Barton. Like an arm in the back by Pallister, but the referee's content to allow play to continue with Rickard. Gascoigne. Taunts from the Middlesbrough supporters of "Are you Sunderland in disguise?" For a North East football fan, there can be few remarks more contemptuous. Now Rickard, faced by Howie. Barton getting back as well. Speed, nice touch. Solano. Free kick given for the foul by Fleming. He seems to have hurt himself in the process. Couldn't get to the ball and fell awkwardly on his own right leg. Pulled up immediately in some pain. Fleming has had a good consistent season, as has that man, but Ruud Gullit has yet to find any consistency. 7 wins, 7 defeats in his time at Newcastle. Just over 3 months since he took over from Kenny Dalglish. But Andy Townsend's goal means that North East honour resides with Middlesbrough at this point, and Bob Ward, the Middlesbrough physiotherapist, having attended to Fleming, is ready to send him back on. Free kick taken by Steve Howie. Ferguson. It's all right getting the knock-ons, but they've got to go to a teammate. Gillespie. Ferguson underneath it again. And now it's down to Dean Gordon to clear Middlesbrough's lines. Back by Howie. A little riskily. Very untidy challenge. Steve Howie played it back to the goalkeeper Harper. without really looking. Gascoigne. Townsend coming deep to receive possession. And then spreading play towards Gascoigne, but he'll struggle to get that. Even 10 years ago, he would have found it difficult to keep that in play. Speed. Robert Lee. Keith Gillespie. Newcastle struggling against the thief central defenders and the two wing-backs of Middlesbrough. In fact, Fleming and Gordon perform the wing-back role as well as many players in the Premier League. That's a foul by Townsend. Who leads by example, usually with clenched fist. Header by Vickers, and it's going to be a Newcastle corner. Vickers trying to reorganise the forces around him and in front of him to repel the threat. And there is the threat. It was a good punch by Schwarzer. Had some bodies to get through. Out to Solano. Cooper away. Only as far as Rob Lee. Solano. Anderson attacking the ball. Vickers with the header. And now Gary Speed. And Ferguson. And ultimately Dean clearing. Charvet. Eluding Ricard's attempted lunge. And now cutting in field. Still Charvet going, but lost it at the critical moment. Laurent Charvet himself was a wing-back when he first appeared in the Premier League for Chelsea last season. This year he's played as an orthodox full-back and as a central defender for Newcastle, and missed only one game. Barton. Ferguson. Barton. The danger for Newcastle, having signed Ferguson from Everton, is that they start to play like Everton and aim everything in the big Scots direction. Maybe today that's excusable in Shearer's continued absence, but normally it would be inexcusable because it would waste so many other alternative talents. Here's Speed with his right foot for once. Anderson couldn't quite get there, but he wasn't far away from it. Gascoigne. Musto. Fleming. Happily recovered from that leg injury. Cooper. Ricard. So much more confident than at the back end of last season when he looked very unlikely to contribute. Fleming. Corner. Lovely interplay by Middlesbrough, notably involving Fleming and Hamilton Ricard. Played at the World Cup for Colombia. Didn't really make an impact, but this domestic season, everyone's been talking about him. Townsend's corner kick. Dean, bit of pushing and shoving going on, and the whistle has gone for a Newcastle free kick. Ryan Dean has had two spells at Sheffield United, one at Leeds and latterly 9 months in Portuguese football with Benfica, who bought him very cheaply and sold him for £3 million. Back by Pallister. Referee unhappy and wanting attention for Steve Howie, who's got that nasty cut above his right eye. It was Brian Dean's elbow that caused the damage. If the referee had a clearer view of the incident, he might have chosen to take some action. A swinging elbow, but did lead somewhat with his arm, and Howie is going to have to go off and be stitched up. So Newcastle, temporarily at least, are down to 10 men, and play restarting with a bounce ball. So Newcastle will have to reorganise whilst the doctors are attending to the cut above Howie's eye. Gascoigne. Perhaps a period of limited ambition for them whilst they're numerically disadvantaged. Lee. Speed has dropped back to help out the remaining defenders. This is Gary Speed. Ferguson's flick. Cooper's clearance. Well, it's an unsophisticated tactic on Newcastle's part. Rather bypasses Andreas Andersen. Charvet. Gillespie. Speed being brought into play. Up towards Ferguson, but that was won by Cooper. Gascoigne. Gordon. Rickard. Came off Hughes. Lee. Andreas Andersen. Gillespie. Half an hour of play, and Andy Townsend's goal still is the difference between these two sides, in tangible terms at least. Middlesbrough, though, have had much the better of it. Certainly looked the more incisive and the more dangerous, even though Newcastle have seen a fair amount of the ball. Fleming, urging movement ahead of him. Rickard. Couldn't get there, Townsend did. Gascoigne didn't, Newcastle have it back. Lee. Andersen. Ferguson, as ever, is threatening inside the penalty area. Lurking, trying to be unnoticed, but it's difficult when you're as big as he is. This is Andersen! Well, it was a chance that should never really have come his way, because Middlesbrough had the opportunity to halt him and didn't take it. And after a couple of lucky ricochets, the shooting opportunity caused some worry to Mark Schwarzer. Steve Howie is having 3 stitches in that cut above his right eye. And with them being very precise people in these parts, they tell us from down below that he's due back on the field in 4 minutes. This must be the one area of the country where the trains run on time as well. Muster. Fleming. Whacked anywhere by Speed, and anywhere happened to be against the shins of Fleming. He's the makeshift defender at the moment. He's been earmarked possibly as a future sweeper by the Welsh national team manager Bobby Gould, but he's just playing as an orthodox centre-back in Howie's temporary absence. Charvet. Solano. Lee. Picture of industry, Robert Lee. Anderson. Good challenge by Pallister to hook his foot around Anderson's body. Townsend. Gordon outside him. Dean and Rickard through the middle. Charvet, the Newcastle defender. Still it's Dean Gordon. And Steve Howie is back on. Stitched up and restored to rude good health. Vickers with a semi-clearance. Likewise Cooper. Newcastle have the throw. Barton. Solano. Speed. Ferguson. Cooper allowed it to run. And it ran for a goal kick. Ferguson scored with what was more or less a half volley on his debut for Newcastle last week. Townsend's goal from any angle is worth another look. So well taken and so well conceived as well. Put out of play by Musto, the longest serving Middlesbrough player. Ferguson. Charvet. Gillespie. Lee. Middlesbrough's system means they have more players in the midfield area, and often it looks like it, but this is Gillespie. There was Ferguson. Couldn't get on the end of it. Now can Middlesbrough break with Gascoigne? Not this time. Speed. Charvet. Put forward by Gordon. Hughes struggling to contain Dean, but Dean stuck out a foot. And that was enough for Uriah Rennie to decide it should be a free kick to Newcastle, which has already been taken. And this is Speed. Newcastle with only one win in their last 6 Premier League games. A sequence that has seen them fall from 3rd in the table at the start of October to 13th at the start of December. Cooper. Gary Pallister for Middlesbrough. Took his time and flicked it accurately. Musto. Gascoigne. Always the fulcrum in the middle of the field for Middlesbrough. He's the organiser and the distributor. And he's distributed that to Dean Gordon. Rickard and Dean both waiting. Still it's Gordon, who was perhaps a little selfish in going it alone. It was a rare sight of goal, and decided that if there was any glory to be had, he was going to claim it all for himself. It emanated from a very sensible lofted pass by Gascoigne. Gordon ostensibly with his weaker foot, the right. Andy Townsend. Now Gascoigne, a little further forward, almost an exquisite pass. Through to Ricard. Touches like that earlier in the season seem to have gone from his repertoire, but happily, as he's dealt with his off-the-field problems, so on the field, little moments like that are returning. Ferguson. It's awkward for Hughes. Ricard. And Charvet for Newcastle. Cooper. Solano is having a quiet spell. He hasn't seen the ball for a good few minutes. Ferguson. Anderson. Back to Ferguson. Well, a sign of what might be possible. The idea long-term is that Ferguson should get the knockdowns for Shearer. Could at least qualify as a 1-2. Now Fleming has to defend this corner because there was a deflection on the shot. Lee. Gillespie. Still plenty forward for Newcastle. Ferguson. Oh, well finished. Charvet with a real bullet. It was only realistically half a chance. Ferguson's initial header nodded away by Dean Gordon, and from 20 yards, Charvet with the perfect volley. He'll replay that in his mind over and over again, and it'll get better every time. Goalkeeper saw it, touched it, but had no chance of keeping it out. Laurent Charvet with his first Newcastle goal to make it 1-1. And after an impressive opening by Middlesbrough, Newcastle have held their nerve and have hit back. With a rapier of a volley. For a player first brought into English football at Chelsea by the then Chelsea manager Ruud Gullit. This time to Middlesbrough. Charvet still presumably inside his head. His mind is spinning with what he's just managed to achieve. He won't score many crisper goals than that in the course of his career. Now the Bladen races ring out, but this is Ricard for Middlesbrough. The Bladen races is the unofficial Newcastle anthem. There aren't too many travelling supporters allocated tickets for this fixture, but there are enough of them to make themselves heard. Charvet with the throw to Lee. Anderson. Speed. All the way to Charvet. And Ferguson arriving. Not before Vickers had got his foot to the ball. Steve Howie. Now it's Gascoigne. Dean. Layoff was short. Too short for Townsend. Newcastle have it back with Solano. Gillespie. He's tricked two Middlesbrough players into making premature challenges. Speed now finding Barton. Lee. So the two goals we've seen, a pre-planned corner routine and a wonderful volley. One instinctive, the other very much worked upon. Here's Solano. Now Ferguson. Kept in almost unnoticed. Rob Lee trying to curl it. Overly optimistic from that sort of distance. Laurent Charvet, the volleyer and the scorer. Always comfortable with the ball at his feet, as it was measured to perfection. Watched it fall and whacked it. Gillespie. Last couple of minutes of this first half. There will be a little bit of time to be added on for that injury to Steve Howie. Barton. Vickers with the header away. Townsend. It's across field in the certain knowledge that a colleague would be there, that colleague being Fleming. Too long surely for Rickard. Goalkeeper's limping a little. It's the last thing that Newcastle want to see. Steve Harper is their second choice custodian anyway. Paul Gascoigne, who's had an influential half. But it culminated in that nearly pass, the flick with the outside of the boot that almost set Rickard clear through the middle. Ferguson's flick. The young man from Seaham Red Star. So many good footballers have come out of the Northern League down the years. Ferguson. Speed to Gillespie. First touch wasn't the best. Charvet's gone outside it. That's one for Ferguson to go for, and he got it. Oh, and then a miss kick by Vickers. He was rescued by Pallister, who was just behind him. Townsend. Gordon. That was out of play. Vickers made the error, but it wasn't a costly one. Lee. Charvet. Speed. Trying to seek out Solano. Rickard. Now it is Charvet for Newcastle. Solano. Barton. Very speed. Charvet has made good ground on that far side. Referee has had 2 or 3 looks at his watch. The whistle isn't far away for half-time. Speed. Newcastle, one imagines, will go in the happier, having come from behind. to level matters through that thunderous volley. Barton. Now, Middlesbrough aren't making too good a fist of clearing it, but the referee's assistant raised his flag, and that prompted Uriah Rennie to blow the whistle for a free kick to Middlesbrough. The respective benches composing their lines for half-time. Dean. Free kick given against Barton. Dean pushed the ball past him. Barton made sure they didn't get out of the way and in fact moved into Dean to ensure that he tumbled over. Gascoigne. Flicked off Townsend's boot. Well, we've had 3 minutes added on now. The referee again is gazing at his watch. The likelihood is that when Harper boots this downfield, the move that ensues will be the last of the half. And it could be a telling one, because this is Rickard. The team has gone on ahead of him. Ball still in open play. Ferguson. Townsend. Colin Cooper. Posted for Rickard. It's an awkward bounce. Rickard tried to stick out one of those long legs. And as he tumbles over, the referee blows the half-time whistle. And Laurent Charvet, with that supreme volley, has ensured that matters are level at half-time. It was an instinctive reaction to a dropping ball after Andy Townsend, with a cleverly worked corner routine set up by Gascoigne, had himself volleyed the home team in front to great acclaim around the Riverside. But then, just 10 minutes before the break, a failure to clear the corner properly, severely punished by Laurent Charvet in the black and white of Newcastle United. And at half-time anyway, in this 93rd league meeting of Tyne and Tees, honours are even. It's Middlesbrough 1, Newcastle United 1. From John Champion back to this northeast derby at the Riverside Stadium, which at the moment is all square. Andy Townsend puts Middlesbrough in front, and Laurent Charvet 5 minutes before half-time, or in fact in the end 10 minutes before half-time, because we had nearly 5 minutes of time added on for stoppages. He volleyed Newcastle level in fairly spectacular fashion. The two teams are out on the pitch. We're just waiting for our match referee, Uriah Rennie, to join us. And already Middlesbrough have achieved something that they've never achieved before, insofar as they've scored a league goal here against Newcastle. Their only previous score against them was an own goal by John Beresford. And Ruud Gullit is preparing to make a substitution at half-time. He has had one or two difficult decisions to make in the course of the season, but one of the easier ones was putting Stephen Glass in his team a couple of months ago. He's since gone on to gain Scottish representative honours, earning his first full cap as a substitute against the Faroe Islands, and it's a straight swap because he will fit in on the left side of midfield in place of the departing Peruvian Norberto Solano. There are no other changes to either side though, and Newcastle are shortly going to get this second half underway. A keenly contested derby match in front of a sellout crowd of just under 35,000 on a very chilly afternoon. Even the Swedish international in shot there, Andreas Andersson, is one of a large contingent wearing gloves. Here's Howie for Newcastle, who are now playing from left to right. Met by Cooper's volley. Nearly played it into the path of Rickard. who is now on the charge anyway. Gillespie coming across. And it's going to be a throw to Middlesbrough as Stephen Glass settles into the game. Pallister. Rickard. Blocked by Charvet. Gascoigne. Ferguson's touch. And again. Speed. Barton. Ferguson. It's one for Andreas Andersson to pursue. Put out of play by Gary Pallister, who's been Duncan Ferguson's shadow for most of the period of play so far. Pallister once again. The best of clearances, straight to Barton. Flicked off the head of Gascoigne. Ferguson. Speed gives them that option on the left-hand side. Back from him to Barton. Now the driven cross. With no real threat. Dean making a nuisance of himself. Charvet ushering it back to the goalkeeper. Dean made the challenge through the defender. Didn't get the ball. Forward by Barton. Header from Vickers. Newcastle's throw. They haven't travelled too well this season, Newcastle United. They've not had far to travel today. Barton. Charvet. Might just try his luck again. And Anderson. Charvet's in the middle. This is Gillespie, and the block was by Pallister. And the former England centre-back had actually turned his back on the ball. But for once there were significant gaps in the Middlesbrough defence. And Pallister put a stop to that attack, but only at the cost of giving away a starting point for another in the form of this corner kick. Amused faces on both benches. One of the spectators has braved the elements and run onto the playing arena. So there's a short break whilst the intruder is removed. Eventually, we will have this corner. Concentration restored. Stephen Glass with it. Away by Townsend. Back in by Glass. Dean's header on. Clearance was from Warren Barton. A lot of jockeying for position going on involving Gillespie and Gordon. Newcastle come away with it with Gary Speed. Glass to his left, Andreas Andersson through the centre. Now it is with Glass. Ferguson waiting for the cross. Oh, and it was deflected away from him. It was well delivered. Accurately swept in, and Steve Vickers managed to get in the path of the ball. Hoisted once more towards the omnipresent Ferguson. Glass with the header. Ferguson's volley deflected and wide for a corner. Not only a threat in the air, Duncan Ferguson. Came, I think, off Colin Cooper. And Schwarzer also got a touch. 2 goals last week. 1 goal here already for Everton this season in a League Cup tie. And now marshalled by Pallister and Fleming at the near post. Anderson just beyond him. A rather haphazard punch by Schwarzer. Barton. Oh. Stephen Glass's control for once found wanting. And Mark Schwarzer wants Gary Pallister to be given some attention before play is allowed to continue. He was one of those involved in repelling the corner and may well have taken a knock when Schwarzer came to effect the punch. Get much distance on the clearance, Mark Schwarzer, but look at the contact that was made, not only with the ball but in the follow-through with Pallister as well. Gary Pallister started his career, we can't say here because the Middlesbrough base when he did start it was at nearby Ayresome Park, the old stadium, but he started with Middlesbrough 14 years ago. Had 9 years during which he won 9 trophies with Manchester United, and having been sold for £2.3 million in 1989 was bought back in 1998 for £2.5 million. Represents good business on Manchester United's part. This is Rickard. Fleming outside, poor pass. Hasn't quite looked the threat that he has over the past 2 months, Hamilton Rickard, and he had the opportunity to release Curtis Fleming. Still, Rickard's overall record, 12 games from 15 starts this season. And by Ferguson. Musto. Laurent Charvet. It's all fairly hectic and frantic. Neat touch though by Gascoigne to Gordon. Townsend blocked by the arrival of Glass. Fleming. Gascoigne, the prompter. Dean. Musto tried to lay it off. Lee won it back for Newcastle. Gascoigne has a 3rd chance to launch an attack in this particular segment of play. And that is a good ball to Dean Gordon. Equally adhesive tackle from Keith Gillespie, though. He might easily have been a Middlesbrough player himself. Gordon's throw. A chance for the former Palace fullback to cross. Gascoigne. Encouraged to continue his run, and the cross towards Brian Dean. Well, Harper got to it. Middlesbrough are appealing there was also an infringement in there and a half asking for a penalty. But somehow Newcastle kept it out. Gascoigne, who was instrumental in crossing the ball for Brian Dean. Fleming taking it inside of Warren Barton. Chance here for Middlesbrough. It's going to be a corner. But Steve Harper, on his full Premier League debut, somehow managed to keep out the header from Brian Dean. It was a wonderful cross, and he pushed it up onto the underside of the bar, and then it was hooked away by Howie. Excellent stop. Townsend's corner. Well, it got a flick on its way across. And it's going to be another corner kick. Brian Dean still wondering how he didn't score. The reason he didn't score was an athletic and very good save by the debutant Harper. Gascoigne, very involved at the moment. Shots, another good save by Harper, because he would have seen it late from Townsend. A crowd of bodies between the striker of the ball and the saver of the ball. Really was a very, very good save. Almost a better one than the first one. But both out of the top draw. Townsend's corner kick. And now a good take. But a hard act to follow, because Shay Given is one of the best Premier League keepers around, but with his shoulder injury, Steve Harper, the 23-year-old, has been pressed into service and hasn't been found wanting. Now it's a Newcastle free kick. Two excellent saves to keep it at 1-1. Glass. Rickard completely defeated by the bounce of the ball. Ferguson. Cooper. Howie. Back from Glass to Barton. Newcastle owe their rookie goalkeeper a debt of gratitude. All the multi-million-pound signings, he cost not a penny when he signed from non-league football 6 years ago. He has had loan spells at Bradford, at Hartlepool and at Huddersfield, which have prepared him for active service today. Two very different saves, two very noteworthy saves. Waited 6 years for his chance. He's taken it literally with both hands. Ferguson's header. Harry Speed. Lee. Barton, the right-footed left-back. Haven't really brought Stephen Glass into play on that left flank successfully yet, Newcastle. Lee. Charvet. Anderson going for it. Schwarzer in between Anderson and Ferguson. Gascoigne to Gordon. Lee there first for Newcastle. Here's for offside, no flag. Gascoigne. He seemed to be warming to his task, if anyone can warm to anything on such a cold afternoon. Townsend. Rickard. This is where he can be so tricky. Now a shooting opportunity, and a deflection has taken it in. Colin Cooper had the shot, but it was the nick of another player that defeated the goalkeeper. Colin Cooper scores his first Middlesbrough goal for 9 years. Although there will be a case for saying that it could even be called an own goal, but I'm sure he'll claim it. But the deflection of the Newcastle defender was absolutely crucial. Harper had made those two wonderful saves, but could do nothing as the ball arched agonisingly over his head. Middlesbrough back in front. Newcastle, well, they've had the warning. Those two saves from Steve Harper, keeping them on level terms, but not for long. There's the goal scorer. rough and tumble, but no referee's whistle. Xavi. Gillespie. Oh, ineffective tackle by Gascoigne. Xavi's cross, Anderson couldn't control. Robley. Barton. Ferguson. Barton shot. Hit with the outside of the boot and always swinging wide. Cooper in his second spell with Middlesbrough, and the reason that it's 9 years since last he scored in their colours is that his last goal was in his first spell for them, and it was Aaron Hughes who made the challenge, got the touch, but it was a touch that defeated his own goalkeeper, much to Brian Robson's delight. Barton. Rickard. Well, only two teams have scored more Premier League goals than Middlesbrough now. And if this turns into a Middlesbrough win, they'll be up to 4th place in the table this evening. It's a foul. Glass, the offender, on Robbie Mustoe, who's been with Middlesbrough longer than any other member of the current playing staff. Gascoigne, Rickard, Fleming, tackles flying in, but Fleming emerged with the ball, and with his legs more or less unscathed. Gascoigne, Mustoe. There seems to be a little arm in the face from Barton on Mustoe there. He's been allowed to pass, though, by the match officials. Xavi. Story in this second period is much the same as the first half. Newcastle have seen plenty of the ball, but when Middlesbrough have had it, they've looked twice as threatening. Here's Townsend. Oh, offside flag up against Rickard. Newcastle need to get on with things, trailing as they do now by 2 goals to 1. Robley. Glass to Ferguson. 2 Scots in tandem. Howie. Gillespie and Ulsterman. And now Xavi, a Frenchman. Off Gordon. For a corner. Xavi has pulled Newcastle back level once. And now he or one of his colleagues needs to do so again. There's their failure to clear a Duncan Ferguson header that led to Xavi's goal. And the loose ball again has come out. This time it was Robert Lee who blasted at goal. Very surprising that Middlesbrough don't have someone stationed on the edge of the penalty area to sweep up those loose balls, because one of those half clearances ended in a goal and another one led to that shot on goal by Rob Lee. Xavi. Ferguson. Speed. Glass has pulled wide. Barton's pass has found him. to get past Musto. It's a corner. Andy Martin, the referee's assistant on the far side, was within a yard of where contact was made between player and ball, and he ruled it was a Middlesbrough player who made the decisive contact. Glass. This time there is a Middlesbrough player stationed to pick up the pieces, and here's Gascoigne. Too slow. Charvet. Ferguson. Charvet wanted the return. Barton. Ferguson. Good defensive header. And now it's Brian Deane. Lee. Ceaseless action. And the game played at quite a pace, as befits a local derby. Doesn't seem to matter that so many of the players come from nowhere near the towns that they represent through their clubs. Still, derby matches are the most frantic of all. And happily, in this fixture, there are a significant number of players that are local. There's Deane. Picked away by Aaron Hughes. Now, this ploy of the two big burly strikers, Deane and Rickard, is proving to be a successful one for Middlesbrough. Curtis Fleming weighing up the throw. Rickard. Oh, good play from the Colombian Hamilton Rickard. Credit to Harper for hanging on. Hamilton Rickard is much happier, he says, because he's now able to eat a native dish of bananas from back home in Colombia, and he puts his banana diet as the central reason behind the renaissance of his career this season. He's earning such good money that he's even been able to bring over his own maid from back home in Cali in Colombia to cook it for him. Here's Dean Gordon, and the banana man is waiting for the cross. That seemed to take a deflection off Gillespie and lands safely in the keeper's arms. Barton. Ferguson. Oh, misplaced for once. Instead it's Musto from Middlesbrough. Fleming. Townsend. Cooper. Rickard couldn't take it in his stride. Alan Cooper, a goal scorer for Middlesbrough for the first time in nearly a decade today. This is where he started his career, moved on to Millwall, and latterly to Nottingham Forest. Rather inelegant from Pallister, but ultimately reasonably effective. Will have to be so again, as Newcastle have won it back with Gillespie. Ferguson with arm upraised inside the penalty area. Robert Lee. Ferguson. Swept back at some pace to Warren Barton. Middlesbrough defending stoutly. Ferguson's knocked down to Anderson. His goal-scoring record, frankly, is poor. 3 in 23 games. A player who cost £3.5 million from AC Milan. Looks of agony on the faces of the Newcastle faithful as another half chance is allowed to pass. Townsend. Chipped over for Rickard, but overhit. Barton. Ferguson. Barton once more onto Anderson. Cooper in swiftly with the tackle. Newcastle's throw. One of 17 £1 million plus signings made by Brian Robson in his 4.5 years in charge at Middlesbrough. Colin Cooper. This was towards speed. Lee. It was blocked from Gillespie, and now the break is on. It's Townsend. Gascoigne herring off to the right. Townsend needs to release it quickly, and he's dallied too long. Good recovery though. Two in the centre. One of them is Brian Deane. Gascoigne's pass didn't find him. Typifies this derby game though, that from a chance at one end, Middlesbrough race upfield and seconds later had a chance at the other. Vickers. Musto. Andy Townsend. Charvet. Lee. Barton. Very speed. Pallister opting for safety. Part of this Middlesbrough team that's now much more clearly defined than it has been probably at any other stage in their time in the Premier League, with their midfield trio of Musto and Gascoigne and Townsend, the three centre-backs, the two wing-backs, and Deane and Rickard up front. This is Newcastle trying to attack. Cross was aimed, as ever it seems, for Ferguson. There are times watching Newcastle today without Shearer when to watch them is almost to watch the Everton of the past 3 seasons, who've used Ferguson as their central point of attack. Gordon. Townsend. Towards Deane. Got the header. Very nicely for Harper. Vickers has been pulled up for the foul. And the referee is going to reach for the yellow card. First time he's done so this afternoon. Caught Ferguson on the ankle. And Vickers goes into Uriah Rennie's notebook. Howie. Anderson. Ferguson. Having his shirt held by Gary Pallister. This is Anderson on the follow-up. Stephen Glass. Ferguson off balance. And back very calmly by Dean Gordon. With a smile of acknowledgement in the direction of Pallister. He knew his shirt was being tugged, even if the referee didn't. Dean's header in field. Charvet. Speed. Barton. He's not really going to go past anyone as a right-footed left-back, but the cross is in towards Ferguson. Forza made semi-contact with it. This is Charvet. Came last off him as well. Middlesbrough's throw. Mark Schwarzer has had to get past some big men, some of them his own, to punch away a number of the centres that have come in. Newcastle are shortly going to make a change. Paul Dalglish preparing himself. And it would be a surprise if anyone other than Andreas Andersson came off. This is Andreas Andersson. Not for long. Ooh, Musto was angered by that tackle, but Gillespie has mopped up. Speed. Ooh, wayward. And Gascoigne seemed to be defeated by the path of the ball, and then Townsend likewise. Speed to Barton. Back from Glass. Charvet. Anderson, who will shortly make way for Dalglish. Gascoigne defending. Oh, took it too far, lost it to Rob Lee. Gary Speed with the final shot. On the run and running wider, it was difficult to control. Now we're going to have the Newcastle change. Andreas Andersson is the man to come off. And he's going to be replaced with just under a quarter of an hour to go by the former manager's son. Paul Dalglish, 21 years old, scorer of 2 goals this season already, and the spitting image of his father. Already a Scottish under-21 international as well. By Dean. Rickard's on his way. There was some holding. Free kick given against the Columbia. Dalglish, like his dad, is a striker and is very quick, unlike his dad. Mind you, his father would argue that he had speed of thought, which is undeniably true. Barton. Ferguson. Stephen Glass. Newcastle seeing more of the ball at the moment, but that's Gordon's header away. Lee. A cushioned volleyed pass to Gillespie. Retrieved by Charvet. There's too many Middlesbrough players around him. 3 against 1. Rickard. Gascoigne. Gives and goes, and Gascoigne's herring through the middle. This is Rickard. Gascoigne wants the cross back, and it was aimed for him. It's been sliced by Howie. Harper got it second time around, but Gascoigne there ran 50 yards to get on the end of the cross. Barton. That was Dalglish's first touch, the pass back. Ferguson. Gillespie. Wide to Glass. Barton. Again swung in early towards Ferguson. Gascoigne. Muster. Back to Gascoigne. Rickard. Directing operations of those around him. Gascoigne once more. Dalglish has run a long way to try and make the tackle, but he pushed him over. And at times in this second half, Paul Gascoigne has produced little moments that suggest that he is getting back on track. Touches, shimmies, feints. He'll never have the pace that will get him away from players, as he was able to boast before his cruciate knee ligament injury. But he has other assets which he can use to compensate. And at 31, he still has 2 or 3 years at this level ahead of him, surely, if he can sort himself out off the field. Howard. Now Speed. Barton. Glass. Dalglish has gone through the centre, so has Ferguson. Barton. Again, the problem in that it has to be delivered right-footed. Ferguson jumped, couldn't make contact. $34,629 people watching this match at the Riverside Stadium, a record crowd inside this ground, and the biggest attendance for a football match in Middlesbrough in just under 18 years. This is a record that surely will be beaten again and again as improvements are made to this Riverside Stadium. And more people want to come and watch the football that's on offer. Gascoigne. This is just one of the attractions. Mustoe, firm tackle on Ferguson. Rickard. Glass, Ferguson. Speed. Gascoigne. Warren Barton. Inside the last 10 minutes now. Middlesbrough 2-1 in front. And this is Gillespie. And now Charvet. Ferguson arriving, good header behind by Colin Cooper. Ferguson has had so many crosses slung in his direction, but the three centre-backs have coped admirably so far. Barton's going off for Newcastle. And Nikos Dabizas, the Greek international, comes on with not very long in which to make an impact, but he is a threat from set pieces. And that's what Newcastle have. They're going to go to three at the back. Dabizas with a certain degree of aerial prowess. All or nothing for Newcastle now. It will leave holes for Middlesbrough to exploit. Ferguson. Gillespie. Dabizas, who got the initial header. Now Glass. Dalglish. Gillespie. Schwarzer hurling it out to Gascoigne. Mustoe. Put in by Glass. Lee. Gillespie. It's all rather predictable from Newcastle. The wild card is the entry of Dabizas. Charvet's cross. And the header has crept in! And it is the wild card that has been played as an ace, because Nikos Dabizas has got the equalising goal. Within 2 minutes of arriving as a substitute, they've thrown him on, and although primarily he's a defender, they've thrown him forward, and he has thrown them a lifeline. Charvet's centre beyond Ferguson, and Dabizas with a looping header. One could question the goalkeeper's positioning possibly, but it was a superb header. Across and above Mark Schwarzer. And for a second time, Newcastle have equalised in this time-teased derby. Nikos Dabizas with his fourth goal in English football, and tellingly, all of them have been headers. And that is a signal for Phil Stamp to replace Paul Gascoigne for the final 5 or 6 minutes. A card played by Ruud Gullit. And a telling one. One that has altered the course, quite possibly, of this contest. Middlesbrough injecting fresh urgency by the arrival of Stamp, but it's Newcastle's substitution that has counted. Dalglish to Ferguson. Lee. Hughes. Glass hit the heel of Fleming. Dean Gordon was the player who couldn't prevent the cross reaching Dabizas. Free kick. Foul by Ferguson. Such a good header of the ball. And he couldn't have placed it any better. Ruud Gullit had made the change. And he is allowed to celebrate. Newcastle on the attack again. Well, they were, until Glass overran his ambitions and played it too far ahead of himself. Fleming. Musto. Dean. Get round the outside of Steve Howie. There's no way past. Oh, and a wayward header. Here's Rickard. And Harper only just got there. Keith Gillespie almost gave the game away. He didn't look before he headed the ball back towards Harper. And thankfully, from a Newcastle perspective at least, the young goalkeeper was alert to the danger. Hasn't always been a football match of the highest quality, but there have been some excellent moments, and it's always been a good contest. Ferguson's knocked down, Speed went for the shot. Again a block on the edge of the penalty area, and Musto has hooked it clear. And Newcastle, having twice come from behind, now have the temerity to think they might even win the game. Stamp's header. And Newcastle's throw. We're going to have another change, this time by Middlesbrough. Ryan Dean is going off to be replaced by a player recently recalled into the Danish national setup, Mikkel Beck. So it's the partnership that has played for the majority of the season up front for Middlesbrough, Beck and Rickard now, but it's at the back where they need to be concerned, because Newcastle are finishing this game strongly. Hughes. Glass. Hughes is a centre-back, but there's some nifty footwork. Now Fleming should clear. Gillespie. Charvet scored one goal, set up the other for Newcastle. And the header! Well, it was Ferguson. And not too often has he been able to make clean contact when centres have come in. He got more of a piece of that than he has at most. And short to the goalkeeper, was rooted to the spot. Stamp and Cooper just did enough. Newcastle's new striker still awaits a pairing with his regular partner. Shearer will hope to be back for the next Premier League game at Ewood Park against Blackburn next Saturday. This is Rickard as Middlesbrough seek a decisive goal. And that search has brought a corner. As we move towards the point where we will be playing stoppage time. Alistair is up from the back. It's also a decade since he scored for Middlesbrough. Townsend's corner kick. Out at the near post. Gordon with the throw. This time Charvet heading it out of play. Maybe a right back, but he's been involved in both the goals. Townsend, scorer of Middlesbrough's first. Dean Gordon. Corner. Of Gillespie. A fascinating swing of the pendulum. Newcastle looked the more likely winners just a couple of minutes ago, and now it's Middlesbrough exerting significant pressure. Townsend's kick. Stamp Rose. Vickers. Stamp! Oh, Harper was surprised, but has hung on. In the face of intense pressure from Hamilton Rickard. It's been an auspicious full debut for the Newcastle goalkeeper. He's done very well. And we still have 3 minutes of play. It's the time dictated by the referee Uriah Rennie that should be added on for stoppages. Harper will remember this day a long, long time. Beck. Ferguson. Lee. Gillespie to Charvet. Robert Lee. Ferguson. Lee again through the tackle, or the attempted tackle of Stamp. Right and left, and he's picked out Paul Dalglish. Gillespie, deflection on the cross. Header only partially away. No real power from Rob Lee. Not the best of goalkeeping clearances by Schwarzer. Rickard, though, has redeemed the situation for Middlesbrough. Phil Stamp, powerful runner in midfield. Chip forward for Beck. One or two looks towards the linesman, but no flag. Gordon. Dabizas made the block. So is there to be a winner to this game, or is it to end as a draw? Certainly couldn't be called a stalemate, because there's been plenty to admire and enjoy in this contest. Vickers. Beck, free kick given. Push in the back by Dabizas. It's a good 35 yards out from goal. We have a minute of stoppage time still to play. Every Newcastle player back to defend. Middlesbrough's captain orchestrating the set piece. Might even have a go himself. Wildly optimistic, really. And maybe it is that this derby match is destined to end with honours even. It will be the first time that Middlesbrough have prevented Newcastle from winning when they've met in the Premier League. Ryan Robson nearest the camera. Rude Hullet keeping his own cancel a little further away. Rueful smile on his face. It's his team that have twice come from behind, and it's both teams who will share the points after this 93rd league derby involving Middlesbrough and Newcastle United. Middlesbrough twice in front, first through Andy Townsend from a neatly worked corner routine, fashioned on the training ground and taken by Paul Gascoigne, and Nikos Dabizas sent on with 7 minutes to go as a substitute with a powerful header for the second Newcastle equaliser after a cross from the right by Laurent Charvet. He scored 4 goals in English football, all of them with that powerful forehead. He gets a pat on the back from Steve Clarke. Townsend putting Middlesbrough into a 13th minute lead, much to the delight of a record crowd inside the Riverside Stadium and to the provider Paul Gascoigne, the plaudits. Then Charvet's fearsome volley made it 1-1 at half-time. Colin Cooper with his first Middlesbrough goal, deflected in off Hughes, his first goal for the club for 9 years, made it 2-1. But then 5 minutes from time came the moment that the pocket of Newcastle supporters have been waiting for. Charvet's cross and the looping header from Nikos Dabizas, earning Newcastle United an important point. In the context of the season overall, it does little for either team's league position. Middlesbrough stay 7th, Newcastle remain in 13th place, but both showed enough today to suggest that the rest of the season holds some interesting times ahead, particularly for Newcastle when Alan Shearer returns, whilst Middlesbrough have shown themselves to be a solid outfit. 1 or 2 defensive lapses today were relatively untypical, but on the whole, Visits to the Riverside Stadium, opposing teams, are not going to be easy. It's now nearly 15 months since last they lost a league game here. But Newcastle supporters, however young, will go home happier tonight because they were away from home and they leave the Riverside Stadium with the reward of a point. Full-time score in this Premier League fixture: Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle 2.